Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. Apologies in advance if the glare off my glasses is really annoying, but I feel an ocular migraine coming in, and when those happen, I stop seeing from my eyes, so I'd really like to avoid that. One of the days of this week, I posted a video about a scammer, Anna Delvey, and the fact that she essentially made up being an heiress, and I find cases like that super interesting because it seems so surreal to me that people go to those lengths, so I figured we could talk about something like that again. Before we get into this video, as you know, content like this is often demonetized, so I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Adam & Eve. Adam & Eve is America's favorite adult store. Not only does it come with discreet packaging, but they also donate 20% of their profit to help fight the spread of HIV around the world. They also have a 24/7 customer service and have 90-day no-hassle returns. If you go to adamandeve.com and use code GLARE, you'll get 50% off one item and free shipping in the US and Canada. Thank you, Adam & Eve, for sponsoring this video. So there's an article from the New York Times titled, "Man who posed as Saudi prince and defrauded investors out of $8 million is sent to prison." Anthony Gignac lived in a penthouse apartment on Miami's Fisher Island where his door buzzer was labeled Sultan. Now, the reason this story immediately interested me is because I thought of The Office and Michael Scott and how he gave money to like those Nigerian prince scam emails you get. And it also made me think of Brooklyn Nine-Nine and how, like, I think it was Scully who was scammed by Nigerian princes, so like concept of pretending to be a prince and scamming people just reminds me of so many shows I watch. Anyway, the man who called himself Prince Khalid Al Saud of Saudi Arabia liked the finer things in life: Rolex watches and Cartier bracelets, a Miami penthouse with a door buzzer labeled Sultan, and expensive outfits for his chihuahua, Foxy, whose life he chronicled on Instagram. Oh, to be a chihuahua called Foxy, living the good life. Sometimes he drove his Ferrari equipped with diplomatic license plates to fashionable department stores where he spent thousands of dollars at a time, prosecutors said, but his charmed life came to a screeching halt in 2017 when he was arrested and charged with using a fake identity to defraud investors. It turns out he was not a Saudi prince at all. On Friday, the man, Anthony Gignac, 48, was sentenced to more than 18 years in prison for posing as a member of the Saudi royal family and pulling off one scam after another, culminating in a scheme to defraud dozens of investors out of more than $8 million, money that prosecutors said was used to finance his lavish lifestyle. While I don't condone fraud in any way, I am happy at least that he wasn't using this money to do horrible crimes. I just have a low bar now, don't I? It was not the first time Mr. Gignac, a Colombian orphan adopted by a Michigan family in 1977, used the Al Saud name to get what he wanted. He has spent most of his life impersonating Prince Khalid, who in reality is the 79-year-old governor of Mecca, prosecutors said Friday. They said Mr. Gignac had been arrested 11 times for prince-related schemes. Okay, I know it's not funny, but the whole concept of having a rap sheet where it's just like prince-related crimes is kind of funny to picture, where you have like this detective yelling at you being like, why did you do this? Where were you on this date? And then it's like, why were you pretending to be a prince? It just seems like a ridiculous line of questioning. Also, this reminds me of Elizabeth Holmes, because Elizabeth Holmes, if you don't know, she essentially came up with a fraudulent idea that had no backing, but people, the investors included, just believed her. And this is something I've dealt with firsthand because of something related to my mom and people investing in a company. I have a video about that. I'll link it down below. But anyway, there too, the investors didn't do a background check on someone, and I was the only person who did a background check, and I'm not even a fucking investor. And it's crazy how much appearances will just convince people entirely. And it's crazy to me that investors, people who are going to sink so much money into someone, wouldn't even do a basic Google or a basic background check. It doesn't take a lot. Over the course of the last 3 decades, Anthony Gignac has portrayed himself as a Saudi prince in order to manipulate, victimize, and scam countless investors from around the world. Ariana Orshan, the United States Attorney of the Southern District of Florida, said in a statement, "As the leader of a sophisticated, multi-person international fraud scheme, Gignac used his fake persona, Prince Khalid bin Al Saud, to sell false hope." Mr. Gignac pleaded guilty in March to wire fraud, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, aggravated identity theft, and impersonating a diplomat, according to court documents. "The entire blame of this entire operation is on me, and I accept that," Mr. Gignac told Judge Cecilia Altanaga of United States District Court at a sentencing in Miami on Friday. But he said other people should have been tried alongside him and told the court, "I'm not a monster." This seems contradictory, that the entire blame of this operation is on him, but then he's gonna say other people should have been there. So is it entirely on you or not? Because I believe he did have colleagues that were helping him pull off this scam, but it's like, if you believe the entirety is on you, why would they have to be there? Which one is it? And at that point, you should have said, well, there are other people who helped me who might still be dangerous and might still be pulling these scams with other people. They're so, and so. Because that would actually be a public service to get those other dangerous scammers off the streets. But things took a grimmer turn. After Mr. Gignac's arrest, his business manager, Carl Williamson, committed suicide, according to a Vanity Fair profile last year. Mr. Williamson claimed before his death that he too had been duped by Mr. Gignac, the magazine reported. Prosecutors said Mr. Gignac's long con began after he moved to California in 1987, where he obtained a state ID card in the name of Khalid Al Saud. The deception has landed him in prison in several states since then, they said. In 1991, the Los Angeles Times called him Prince of Fraud after he pleaded no contest to stiffing a limousine company in Regent Beverly Hill Wilshire Hotel out of more than 10 grand. It's crazy to me that he allegedly managed to dupe his manager, Carl Williamson, and I also wonder how he proved to Carl Williamson that he was who he was. And I suppose that if you come in looking the part, like we note with the investors, that's enough for certain people. And that's sad, because to be involved in a fraud without knowing is tragic. At the same time, I just wonder who did their due diligence. Like, I'm wondering, how organized was Gignac? Like, was he actually super convincing and he had backed everything up? Or did people simply not look, or was it somewhere in the middle? That's what I'm wondering about, because in certain cases, fraud really is hard to detect, but in other cases, just doing cursory research will show, oh, actually, the prince he's claiming to be is like 80 years old. But he continued the scam in Michigan, where he pleaded guilty in 2006 to impersonating a diplomat and attempted bank fraud. Prosecutors said he used his royal persona to charge more than $28,000 in purchase at Saks Fifth Avenue and Neiman Marcus to the account of an actual Saudi royal. He also tried to withdraw $3.9 million from a Citibank account that did not exist. The audacity, the absolute audacity. Like, I don't know how you actually charge more than $28,000 to the account of an actual Saudi royal without going into deep anxiety. Like, the sole concept of taking 10 cents from a royal scares me. I don't know how someone just spends thousands upon thousands of dollars and has no issue doing it. And that really makes me wonder whether he had a false sense of security or whether he just thought he'd go undetected, because it's clear that his system wasn't that great if he got busted over and over and over again. Though he also kept duping people over and over again, so maybe he thought he was doing better or learning, but I don't know, just like the confidence of all of this is surprising to me. Gignac's lawyer at the time, Karen J. Davis Roberts, wrote a 2007 sentencing memorandum that his behavior was caused in part by trauma he suffered as a homeless child in Colombia and by the divorce of his adoptive parents. He spent more than a year and a half at mental hospitals and later ran away from home at the age of 17, she wrote. Mr. Gignac claimed at his 2007 sentencing that he had began having sex with male members of the Saudi royal family at the age of 17. He subsequently became a kept man but was later cut off, he said. The court was unmoved. This is one of the most powerful families in the world, he said, according to a transcript. They are secretive. There's no information about these people on the internet. They have private ongoings. Who could I, without help, influence? I'm so close to them. I believe the trauma of being homeless, and I believe the trauma of divorce of your parents. That being said, it's really hard to believe that he actually has a connection to the Saudi royal family when he's been busted for pretending to be part of them. It just seems to clash. And, you know, who knows? Maybe he's not lying, But in this context, it would be hard to believe that someone who's lying about being a prince isn't lying about knowing the royal family. Mr. Gignac spent time in federal prison and completed his supervised release in February 2017. By that time, he was already impersonating Prince Khaled in South Florida, the Justice Department said. He bought fake diplomatic license plates for his cars and fake diplomatic security service badges for his bodyguards, prosecutors said. He handed out business cards that referred to himself as Prince, His Royal Highness, and Sultan. When he met with investors, he demanded expensive gifts, which he described as royal protocol. People have business cards that say like Prince, Royal. You're kidding me. I mean, business cards for actual jobs, but when you're royal, I didn't really think you'd have to let people. I'm just imagining like the Queen of England giving a business card being like, Queen of England. I don't know, maybe it's a thing, you guys can let me know. The ruse continued on Instagram, where pictures of his dog were dispersed with photos of luxury goods, expensive meals, piles of cash, and images of Saudi royals with captions like, my dad. Prosecutors said Mr. Gignac used his royal persona to lure investors into non-existent ventures around the world, including a pharmaceutical company in Ireland and a casino in Malta. He also dangled a chance to buy a stake in Saudi Arabia's state-owned oil company, Saudi Aramco, whose potential record-breaking IPO was suspended last year. Representatives for the Embassy of Saudi Arabia in Washington did not answer their phone on Friday. The scheme began to unravel in March 2017 when Mr. Gignac set out to buy a luxury hotel in Miami, prosecutors said. He offered the owners $440 million, booked a stay at the hotel using a credit card in Prince Khaled's name, and showed them forged documents from the Bank of Dubai granting him a $600 million loan, prosecutors said. But he behaved erratically, they said, and the hotel's owners hired a private security group to investigate their would-be business partner. The investigators soon learned the truth, and federal investigation began soon after. The hotel's owners hiring a private investigator, that is due diligence. That is what should have been done since the fucking beginning of all of this. I could not imagine doing a business deal for that much money without looking into who exactly I'm dealing with. Because even if he were the prince, okay, even if he were that, it's like you don't know what skeletons are in someone's closet. You want to know that they're not in a crazy amount of debt so they will be able to pay. You want to know that you're not associating someone who's tied with criminals. You want to know that you're associating with a person who you can trust. So even if he weren't fraudulent in the way he is, you still should really look into their past and what they've done, right? Because what if he had been a murderer? Would you want to associate with a murderer? So that's where the article ends. I will link other articles down below. They're all very long-winded and they all pretty much say the same thing. But I think that what's super surprising to me is that he kept doing the same thing and he kept getting busted, but for some reason they never really sentenced him to a long enough sentence, because if he kept getting out and being able to do the same thing over and over again, it's not possible he ever was in for like 10 years or 15 years every single time. Since he always impersonated the same prince, I'm just wondering why the police wouldn't keep tabs on like bank accounts that pop up with that name, or you know, the actual prince's location versus where transactions are going through in his name. You know what I mean? So if we see that he's still on continent X, if there's a transaction in his name on continent Y, why wouldn't you check that, you know? Or also just shut down any bank accounts that aren't official. There's so many things that I just wonder. I mean, they might have happened and maybe Gignac just found a way around it, but it's one of those cases where it happens over and over again. And if it were once, kind of like Elizabeth Holmes, that she popped out of nowhere and she did her big thing and now that all unraveled, okay. But here it was consistently like he picked up his character every single time he dusted off the dust of the prison. He's like, okay, so I'm Prince Khaled. Here is my business card. What's up? Very curious. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Let me know if you think his manager really was duped by him, or if the manager merely realized that he probably would be in a lot of legal trouble as well. Let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons as always, and I'll catch you guys